And welcome everyone to another episode of Growth with Tacos, rounding out the new year. We've got myself, Pierce, John Marco, Jason, and our special guest for today, Megan from the Yang Gain Book Club. Thank you for joining us, Megan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what the heck is the Yang Gain Book Club? Like, everybody's heard of a book club. Some people might even be part of a book club. So what is the Yang Gain Book Club?
Yeah, so Kateri and I, who is in the comments actually, she and I started the Yang Gang Book Club right after Yang dropped out of the presidential race. And we were actually in two different book club chats. She had mentioned somewhere on Twitter, let's start a book club. Somebody else had mentioned, let's start a book club. And we somehow finally ended up in the same chat and started the book club. And I think everyone else was thinking, oh, cool, it'll just be like 10 of us reading books. And Kateri and I were like, no, we're definitely thinking like Reese Witherspoon book club. We're thinking like Oprah book club. Like, we are making this thing big. And then it actually happened. It actually did get kind of big. Evelyn found us, and then Andrew found us. And yeah, so it's kind of turned into this really cool space where we're not just reading books, but like we're giving people tools to change the world, it feels like. Because I always say knowledge is power, but only if you actually use that knowledge and put it to work. So that's basically what we're trying to do.
That's a really cool idea.
Yang Book Club is the fact that it's evolved more than that, to where you actually, have writing challenges and prompts and stuff like that. I mean, you guys even got me to write poetry once.
Yeah. Although I don't think I'm allowed to say which poem you wrote.
No, you're not.
Yeah, it has evolved into some pretty cool things. We do have writing prompts every Wednesday. We have Think Harder Thursdays, where we try to ask a question to make people think harder. And we do some really cool things on our YouTube channel as well. We always talk about the book, but we also have like reading times, poetry readings. We've had some really, really cool guests on, different authors. Scott Santons, we got him to meet Teresa Finiciello, who actually wrote Tyranny of Kindness. We kind of had them meet for the first time and like have a conversation. So that was really cool. So yeah, it's been a really cool opportunity.
For sure. So like, most people have the problem of way too many books to like read already. At least if you're like me and you actually like reading books, you do, right?
Yeah.
So how do you decide like what is going to be next on the list?
Yeah, so we usually get together and kind of think of a theme. And I will just say this, like, most of that credit goes to Kateri. She is like so good at picking out books. I help, but she is just so good at it. But we usually think, okay, what do we want to learn? What is something in the book we just read that we would like to expand on further? And then we just look up new releases, or we just look on Goodreads for books that kind of fall into that category. So for example, our January book, Blueprint for Revolution, is written by the guy who founded Oath, which was in our previous book that we read over this last year. I just forgot the name. Oh my God, it's my favorite one. This is an Uprising. Okay. This is an Uprising. And that was my favorite book. Such a good book. And Kateri's laughing at me. And so that book is actually, we were super inspired by the Oath chapter because it was just a group of normal people who overthrew a dictator. And they did it through like really comedic things, nonviolent things. And we were kind of wondering, okay, so how would we do that? And so organizing and mobilizing was definitely something that we wanted to focus on. And we found that book and we were really excited that it was written by that guy. So that's kind of the process that we go through.
All right. That's pretty cool. I feel like Rob, he's like smiling, chomping at the bit. Did you have a question, brother? You're
He's on mute right now.
still muted. There you go.
There, much better. Yeah. No, sorry, because I was trying to like test this new microphone, so I got kind of a little bit late, but I was listening in, like, even as you were talking about how you guys chose your books and like the themes that you guys are going through, and I just think it's just super cool because I'm just starting to read books again. It's kind of sad to say, but like I didn't really read a lot this year, so I'm kind of at a loss in terms of like where do I even start with like what's like a good book going into 2021. Like, do you? And I know we're probably gonna get into this, but recommendations?
Just follow him on Twitter, man.
I know, but we have it right here.
Yeah, I would say just of the books that we read with the book club, This Is an Uprising was definitely my favorite. It's kind of a history of nonviolent revolution. So that's really good. We read a fiction book about zombies called Dread Nation, and I usually hate zombies. I think it's dumb. I think it's like played out. No offense if you guys like zombies. Guys usually like zombies. But this was a really fresh take on it. It was written by a female of color with a female of color as the main character. And it was written as if like during the Civil War. And the thing that stopped the Civil War was zombies. So such a good fiction book. It's called Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. So that's a good one if you like fiction. And then we're reading Humankind right now. And that is just such a phenomenal book. And I don't want to say too much because we're doing our live stream about it on Saturday, but I usually tell people the too long didn't read version of it is history is just nothing like we think it is. Like everything we know about history is totally wrong. But in kind of a good way.
Dang. Well, I mean, I just searched all three of those books out. So I definitely will be reading those books. And I have to let you know how they are.
So I actually just looked up Citizen Uprising right now because I'm curious. Does it have a different title?
This Is an Uprising?
I think I must be mishearing you. I'm hearing Citizen Uprising.
No. This is an uprising.
Yeah.
Oh, This Is an Uprising. My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
by Mark Engler.
Yeah, Mark
Engler?
Engler, yeah.
All right. John Marco, you're still muted, by the way. I saw you try to speak.
I mean, I think everyone at the same time said this is an uprising, so I think you got the picture.
That was
Dread
cool.
Nation's really good though. It's better.
That's definitely a book that.
Nice. So, with the size of the book club, are there groups within the group of like subgroups that like focus on I like more nonfiction versus fiction? You guys tailor to people's like.
So that's
interest in reading?
definitely. We definitely want to eventually have like chapters, like different chapters. It was kind of hard because we literally started right before the pandemic happened, which is kind of a blessing because everybody needed something to do, and like here we were. So that was nice. However, some of the things that we were wanting to do, like meet in person and have people like actually meet with like their local, at the time, like their local Yang Gang chapters and read the book and then actually go out into their communities and try to like implement some of this stuff. Obviously that didn't happen, but that is something that big picture we really do want to do is, you know, have different like Yang Gang book club chapters or book club chapters. We do tend to pick a lot of nonfiction, and most people don't love nonfiction, but I will say, and Terry can vouch for me for this one, I don't have a great attention span. I actually told Pierce this earlier. I don't have a great attention span. So when we actually choose nonfiction, we try to choose nonfiction that's like easy to read. I think like War on Normal People, where yes, it was technical, but it was written in like a way that anyone could understand. And I would go on to say even like This Is an Uprising or Humankind, like it's written in a way that you kind of forget that you're reading nonfiction because the author just does such a good job of like, it's like they're talking to you.
Yeah, that can make all the difference in the world.
Mm-hmm.
A book that resonates really well with that style. And also probably goals, I bet you know it, is Freakonomics. Have you read it?
I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
I highly recommend adding it somewhere to that massive queue of books that I'm sure you have. Judging by the titles that you've said so far and how you seem to talk about the books and what you're looking for, I think it would be a good book. It's one of the most, like, honestly, I want to say mindful or influential books that I've actually read myself. That because it actually fundamentally like added to how I see the world, you know. And I don't think many books can say that. Like every once in a while, maybe a character in a novel I'll read will say something very witty, and I'll think like, oh, hey, you know, that's a great point, you know, and that'll change my perspective on something. But you know, this one like truly, it was kind of like, oh yeah, so this is how everything works, right? Mm-hmm. And once you start looking at the entire world and like any problem that you're trying to solve as like, oh, hey, well, this is what people want to do. They're just doing what they want to do. They're doing what they're rewarded to do. Once you start looking at it like that, you get to go like, oh, okay, that person's not being evil. The system is just like basically encouraging them to do the wrong thing, you know, or whatever happens to be. I'm being like really, really vague, but like, you know, it really hammered down a new way, I guess, to analyze problems, and I really benefited from it.
So that's one of those books that's recommended in certain like business classes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of that is kind of similar to Humankind, and I keep bringing that up because that's just the one I'm reading right now. But a lot of what the author says in that one is a lot of that, like, is humankind the way it is because like the powers that be and like society made us this way, and we're not actually that way. Like we think a lot of us tend to think people are just bad. And I've had to analyze that for myself over this past year, because I've always been like, oh no, people are inherently good. Always thought that. I don't know why I always thought that. That's just what I tend to think. I don't know. Maybe it's like,
well, that's an Ann Keller, or not Ann Keller, Anne Frank quote as well, right? Like, despite everything, I think that people are inherently good.
Yeah, and that's what I like to think. I don't know if that's like optimism or like my empathy or what it is, but that's what I've always thought. And then I've kind of had to rethink that over this past year with some of the things that I've seen, and not just through social media, but just like directly in real life. And it's kind of like, do I really think that? And I think after like going throughout the year and reading this book, I still think people are good. I just think that life is hard.
There's like that Eastern philosophy of the yin and the yang, where you have the good and you have the bad, and each one has a little bit of negative in it or a little bit of positive in it. Yeah. But I like to think of it as all encompassed in the circle of the yang, of the yin yang, and it's like just people are inherently stupid. It works better like if you just like look at it from like everyone's just inherently stupid. It doesn't matter whether they're evil or they're good. They're just dumb.
I mean,
myself, yeah. Never attribute something to or never attribute something to malice that can be explained by stupidity. Yeah,
exactly.
and actually,
but I like it, like, and I'm still in it.
Oh, for sure. That is a mentality that will straight up make you happier in life. Like, I swear to God. If you stop thinking that, like, oh yeah, people are intentionally doing this to screw me over or are intentionally being evil, if you just realize, like, no, sometimes some people are just inept. Sometimes people just make a mistake. Like, you will be way happier in life, I promise.
And more often than people think, they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a big one.
Yeah, problems have to be like brought up to whoever's able to fix them if they're going to get fixed. I remember I was working at a place, and this was a place with like multiple buildings. So every once in a while, I would go to the other building, and I saw like the toilet was out. All right, you know. And I remember like after a month and a half or so, I went there again, and I saw that the toilet was still out. I was like, that's odd. You'd think that they would have fixed it right now, right? So I submitted a work order, and I was there like 2 days again later, and the toilet was fixed. All they needed was just someone to say like, hey, work order over here, you know? But like if the person that can fix a problem doesn't know that they need to fix a problem or doesn't recognize that there's a problem, then it doesn't get fixed. That's just the fact of the matter.
I tend not to spend time with children because children are sticky.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
But kids are very smart. Kids are very smart and very
intelligent. Kids are extremely smart. and they will just ask you questions that you don't know the answer to. Like they'll just ask you things.
But I think that's what makes somebody smart is the fact that you have the curiosity and the intellectual curiosity to even ask the question. Where I feel like as we get older, we stop. I'm not saying all of us, but because I know within the Yang Gang we do, but a lot of adults as we get older, we stop asking those types of questions. You know, but that's very important, and it also relates a lot to books too. I think books answer a lot of certain questions that we may have or that we might not even be thinking of. It's the power of books. Unfortunately, I feel like fewer people are reading nowadays, though.
Yeah. Like, one of the favorite things I've like ever learned from a book is my favorite author of all time, Frank Portman. He's also like the lead singer of one of my favorite like Bay Area grunge bands of all time, the Mr. T Experience. He wrote the books King Dork Approximately, A Drama Decline, and he pointed out in like his latest book, King Dork Approximately, the follow-up to the first one, that on every pair of jeans in gold stitching, there is an outline of a penis drawn where a penis should be.
What?
No, just think about a pair of jeans and the gold stitching around the crotch. It looks like a penis.
Oh.
Yeah. I've never thought about that.
For everyone.
Yeah. It's a zipper, right at the zipper.
Yeah, at the zipper area.
Yeah.
Like the gold stitching down each side, and then you got it like across, and then you have that weird little like head shape at the bottom.
So I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm wearing jeans right now, and I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm very into clothes. I really like a good pair of jeans, and I just.
I don't see it at all.
The gold stitching.
I'm comfortable with that part of the anatomy. I don't see it, man. I think you're wrong.
It's a really boxy.
Yeah, way to be inclusive to our guest, by the way, dude.
As Jason.
But
oh man.
So on a completely change of different topic, I guess, since we're all Andrew Yang fans.
Great
and actually, Andrew Yang recommended reading a book as a part of the process of like helping maintain sanity. But anyway, I happen to hear a little birdie that he's running for mayor of New York City. Shocker.
Yeah, I think we call that what? April?
We talked about this last episode as well, but now it's official. He has technically like at least done the administrative act of entering the race.
Yeah. But like I said, did this podcast call it back in like April?
I mean, he has filed the necessary paperwork, and
yeah, true.
Yeah, he's filed the necessary paperwork, and he'll make a formal announcement probably sometime in January.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't believe that other podcast is selling the shirts and everything that they were first to the scoop. Pierce Walker had it way before.
Yeah, he's not going to announce until the Georgia race is either over or literally like about to finish. In an attempt to bring attention to the Georgia race.
Yeah.
Do you guys
all the money he can flowing that way, not his way?
Say again, Rob.
What do you think are the chances that he's going to run?
100.
Do you think it's like a definite?
I think it's a for sure thing. All the formalities aside, like it'd be something odd for him not to do it, because I feel that he understands that in terms of value, in terms of the overall Humanity First movement, it can be a very symbolic victory, and even campaign even without a victory in itself. Because in the same way that he engaged a lot of people nationwide for a presidential run, I can pretty much with guaranteed certainty know that he will galvanize a lot of people in a very, very local race. Not to mention the mayor of New York. That is a very important position to a lot of people that pay attention to New York politics, which is a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest metropolitan places in the world. What? A lot less vote?
Yeah, a lot less New Yorkers vote than I think one might normally expect. I forget what the exact number is, but New York City traditionally, for its mayoral run, or in that election, has like a really low turnout.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, here's to hoping that the 2020 election. Yeah. Hope here's hoping the 2020 election people show people the importance of voting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is also the first time that they're going to have ranked choice
Ranked
voting.
choice voting.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a big one.
So
that is something that
yeah.
should be plastered everywhere. How important that is.
yeah,
Mhm.
I don't
Because
think
that might
that,
even
go ahead.
indulge more people to vote.
It could.
Right? It would, because your vote has impact all the way until the end, really, right?
I mean, this
And
year in
I remember
particular,
I read this polling report. So last time we'd mentioned that there was a poll that put him literally in first place in the lead, but that same poll also asked respondents who they rate as their second choice, right? And the number 3 and number 4 people running in the race right now, the most common answer was also Andrew Yang. So it bodes pretty well for Andrew Yang to be making it to the the occupancy, or the office, I should say, of New York City mayor.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I don't think he's going to do UBI for the city though, because fundamentally the economics of it don't work.
Damn.
I
want it.
Yeah, sorry, Rob.
I want it so bad.
I think the geography of UBI is very important for it to be impactful.
Right.
If you have it in terms of a limited geography, municipal, state, or federal, literally physical borders, the more you can keep it inside, the better, essentially. And you're talking about the entire country, like, think about it, not even half the country has passports, so the probability of it leaving your domestic economy is lower. Whereas if you have something as concentrated as New York, where people go to neighboring New Jersey on a completely hourly basis, it seems it could easily be, that could be money essentially coming out of where the project is being placed, and hoping for it to thrive. So if anything, like, you can think about it as UBI with restrictions if they want to try to pull it off, like, hey, you have to use it within the municipality of New York. But I doubt it would ever get to that.
Yeah, and that's just extra regulatory hurdle.
Exactly.
Anyway.
That's the opposite of what UBI is trying to achieve.
Right, and it still creates the problem of basically subsidizing living in New York, and subsidies as a whole, they raise prices, right? Yeah. Like when you say, hey, this isn't cash, this is money that can only be used for that thing, guess what? The price of that thing rises, right? Mm-hmm. that's just what happens.
Yeah.
So when you say, hey, if you live in New York City, what you're saying is, hey, this is money that can be used, like towards New York City rent, right? Because you're only getting it if you're paying New York City rent or property taxes or whatever, right? So when it's a national thing, then you're able to take that money and run. You're able to go anywhere. So it's no longer this is money that can only be used in New York City thing. Instead, it's money that can be used anywhere. And then even if you do spend 95% or whatever in New York City, you don't end up with the corresponding inflation from it. So
yeah. The mobility of money is extremely
important. Right.
I think the most important thing that he can implement into the whole New York system is treatment for addiction and everything. That's the most important part of all of his policies that he can possibly, introduce, and everything that could end up going national. So
a lot of people are getting evicted. It's scary. I am curious because I'm not sure how his national scale policies is going to be implemented into New York City. Just being from New York City, I'm just like, I don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, what do you guys thoughts on that?
Well, actually, you tell us, man. Like, besides fixing the subway, what do you New Yorkers want?
That is the biggest thing.
Megan,
the biggest thing is the subway. Well, housing, obviously. Transportation, another huge one. So these two are like the biggest things, and I'm like, well, I would like something like UBI. I just don't know, as you guys mentioned, I don't think it's going to work if it's just going to be in New York City, and because the transportation system is like still pretty bad. Like our prices are rising like with each swipe, but the trains itself haven't even improved. There's still, I mean, it's gotten cleaner now because fewer people are on it, and you have to clean it, but aside from that, it's still like the same type of trains. Housing is still like expensive. I mean, it's gotten cheaper, but once the economy bounces back up, it's going to be back to the way it was. So I really don't know unless he does some Yeah, I really have no idea how it's going to work. I can't really see it fully. I just know that like whatever he does, like if he's gonna become mayor, he's gonna find some interesting way that I have no idea. I probably would have never even thought of that he's gonna be able to implement. But in
I
his
think he
And
case,
also
I think you nailed it on the head though in general, Rob, because regardless of what he can or can't accomplish, we understand that he'll be very effective at
Yeah.
molding the conversation of the campaign through some methods or ways of thinking we never thought about.
yeah, big time.
I think one thing that he might be able to accomplish is healing the divide between New York City police and its residents. Because right now I've been under the impression that New York City, citizens have become less and less favorable towards New York City police, right?
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like bluntly, healing needs to happen, right? Because it's not like we're going to disband police. That's not going to happen, nor do we want that to happen, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Megan, I had actually asked where you live, if you're willing. You don't have to.
Yeah, I don't care. I live in Rockville, Maryland, which is like
Okay, I know exactly where that is. I dated someone there.
yeah. It's right near like the DC metro area, Bethesda.
Yeah, also next to Koreatown.
Yes.
Hey.
Yeah. How is that area doing? Because like that city, despite being surrounded by, quite frankly, a lot of wealth, that city itself has had better days, right? How's it doing these days in the pandemic?
I live
Not better.
I don't really leave where I live, to be completely honest with you.
Okay.
We moved here during the pandemic.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so which was an interesting experience. So my apartment, I can walk to get groceries. I can walk to the metro. I can walk across the street to like go ice skating. There's like 2 parks within like a mile. So like I do a lot of walking around. And I live kind of near this like the nice houses. And so I can't really like I don't know. It looks like it's doing okay. I will say the metro, I don't think is doing that well. I think they're gonna like close a stop or 2, which kind of sucks. That like messes up like commutes. And I actually, once this is over, I'm in grad school and it's online right now, but I'm supposed to be going to school and I'll be taking the metro. So I'm a little wary of how that's gonna work once we can actually go in.
All right.
Is it owned by like a specific company or is it owned by like the city?
I don't actually know. I just keep hearing that they don't want to keep funding it, essentially. They don't want to keep giving money to it. And so they're going to have to shut down some of the stops. I think more so on like the Maryland side.
Well, fact checking at your live service, the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority is a government institution. It is a tri-jurisdictional government agency that operates in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia.
Yeah. I wanted to say government, and I didn't say that.
Has anyone ever thought
I didn't want to be wrong.
But yeah, it's what I thought as well, but I wasn't positive. But hey, cool thing is, and we live in the future. Like honestly, we straight up live in the future. We can look up like anything in seconds. It's amazing.
True.
Sue asked, what do you think Yane's chances are to become New York City mayor? I guess we didn't hear your part on that.
Yeah, I was being quiet on purpose.
Okay, you don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
I'm weary, to be completely honest. I'm a little worried about it. I think the thing I'm most worried about is that if he loses, what his future would be. But to be honest with you, as much as I love Andrew as a person, I guess I'm more on the side of fighting for the policies. You know what I mean? Sure. Like I want UBI and I want all the other stuff that he was talking about. UBI is like my top thing because I think that helps. Like for example, I think like pairing UBI with like the climate change movement is like the smartest thing we could do, for example.
Mm.
I'm like, I love his policies and I love him as a person. But I don't know. I'm just a little wary of it.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes
I can
sense,
understand
sure,
that. Like
yeah.
people have to understand balancing all the policies and what he stands for with the huge center of gravity he still has championing those policies. And I can see how he would think that him running for mayor is a good way to galvanize people to show them, hey, this isn't a presidential thing. I'm not going to be a lot of your mayors that want to support me in this, but I'm trying to show how I can impact change on a local level. And ideally, that would just push people to just support initiatives locally, because that's when the real change happens. If we can expand the whole mayors for guaranteed income, like across many municipalities and make it a state level thing, like then you'll have people on the federal level seeing what's happening on the ground, literally in their cities and states around them, and that will mold the conversation even more because they're all beholden to their constituents.
Well, if
for the
we
most part.
learned anything from like the current like news cycle and everything, the people in Congress and in the Senate don't pay attention to the people on the ground. Period. In the conversation, I mean,
Exactly.
Mitch McConnell has like shown that like tremendously today over the past couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, Megan, you brought up your wariness of the whole like, what if he loses thing, and that's absolutely fine. But I think his campaign also showed us that even if you don't win, you've accomplished so much already. Like I was helping David Kim campaign until the election this year, and we were lost by about 5 points, but we still had tens of thousands of people, make their voice heard and support a certain set of policies and initiatives or what they want to see out of their representative. And that's an important thing to always take into consideration because, whether it have been Trump or Biden that won, like those that voted against them are still their citizens. Like they are their fellow Americans as well. And the whole, like, how, those stories about how presidents leave a note to the incoming presidents on the day of the inauguration. Who was it? Was it Clinton to Obama? I think it was Bush to Obama. Like, even though they're different, like your success is our success. And I think that's very powerful and true.
Yeah.
Yep. I think the local.
And I mostly agree with William because like the policies are what is going to impact us and our daily lives, right? I would say like that is a hugely important thing. I don't discount the point of being president, though. I think personally that the number one job of the president is to literally be a good role model. I'm not joking. I think that's the number one job of the president. And that's not related to any policy at all, not related to policy in the slightest. But when you think about just how much attention is drawn towards the president, how much the president receives flack for things good or bad, right? Like the fact of the matter is they're the figurehead, they're the leader, they're the one with the big giant spotlight on them, and the better that they do and the more confidence that the American population has in their leadership, just literally the better mentality that we're going to have as well in regards to that leadership. And that is something that also impacts your daily life. How you feel about, your government, your world, your society that you live in. Well, you're a part of your society that you live in, so that's going to affect how you live. So I agree with you, and I think that there's also more to it. I guess I don't know. I don't want to like both sides it, but like
honestly, the best case scenario we can have is just like we saw it with Bernie in 2016 with the progressive policies he was pushing, and then it was a much more common talking point again amongst various Democratic candidates this time around. Best case scenario, Andrew Yang, should he run in 2024, would be our baseline, like not even our best candidate.
One could
That's
hope.
the best thing we can ask for.
If he runs, I'm not
discounting supporting him if he runs. If he runs, I probably support him, sure. But I got to see what other options there are. That's what democracy is all about. And if there's someone that's just somehow amazingly even better than Andrew, it could easily happen. Mm-hmm. We'll know when the time comes. But
well, I'm not in the business of putting humans on pedestals. There's it's, and I think that's kind of why I back away a little bit, and I kind of look at it like, do I want him to win, or do I want him to run for something because I think he's the best, or just because I'm like fangirling? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Is he the best person for the job for real, or am I just like putting him so high up that even in a place where even he doesn't want to be? And I think that's definitely something that people have to look at. And I think you put it so well. Like there's probably going to be someone better than that for him for that
Best
job.
case scenario, best case scenario. Andrew's our worst choice.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that'd be
that
great.
could totally happen. And I think you have to kind of leave the possibility kind of open for that. And yeah, and like I said, I love Andrew. I think he's an awesome person. But he's also just that, a person.
Yeah.
You know?
The only person I put on a pedestal is Rob Chen, and that's just because he's beautiful.
Oh, you're beautiful, sir. No.
But John Marco mentioned the presidential note and everything. What do you think Trump's is going to be to Biden?
Oh God.
I don't think there will be one.
Could you imagine?
Probably the leftover White House bills.
Does he know how to write?
I don't think he will.
Fox News is on channel 69, just so you know, or that's all I can think that he would write.
This guy.
My prediction on that is Trump has already reserved a space for like basically a rally at the same time as the inauguration. My expectation is that he plans to announce his candidacy for president for 2024. That's my expectation.
Wait, you don't think he's gonna? But he would be at the inauguration, though.
No.
He's said that he's not going to be there.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Megan is.
I do not think Trump will be at the inauguration. I quote me as putting that at like 99.9%. He will not be there.
Yeah, I can't see that really happening.
I could be wrong. He can change his mind.
So I figured he would write some type of note, right? You know?
I don't know.
He's done anything else that other people do.
He's a narcissist, so that has a certain level of pettiness. But he's not like, I don't know how to put this. There's a reason why Trump has gotten to where he is today. And
you don't think he knows how to write, do you?
That's what I said.
You don't think he knows how to spell words to write.
I didn't know you were in the business of stealing jokes on here. Okay.
Oh, that's fine.
Megan's too smart for you, dude. Yeah, going back to that, William, I agree, man. Being able to choose between two candidates instead of the lesser of two evils would phenomenally just reconstruct our political scene. And I don't know if that's going to happen in our lifetimes. I could pray, basically, but ultimately, you basically have to have enough people decide that they're willing to risk their uprooting their lives. Because you don't win a political race unless you make it your full-time job to win the race. And then even still, that's not enough because you still need to get the cooperation and attention of enough media. And generally speaking, media likes to go for controversy.
Yeah.
So the system right now is not exactly structured to help that. But, hopefully that changes. It really just depends on more honest people deciding, hey, I'll do that, right? Yeah. Like me, myself, I'm not interested in that, but I do want to make a difference. So maybe I'll decide that is worth the sacrifice. But then that even sounds cliche, right? Like, oh, hey, I'm sacrificing to serve. Like, I don't know. Just I have a really jaded opinion on people that get into politics as a whole. So,
I mean, Pierce, if you were to run, we will canvass for you. We will.
I appreciate that.
We definitely will.
I appreciate that, man.
We'll be in field organizers.
Well, I've got no plan on it at the moment, but who knows? Like I said, I like fixing problems. I just want problems solved, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm a square in the round hole for politics as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, that's probably like my one big reason why I'm like looking forward in a way for like Andrew Yang to run for mayor, if he were to run for mayor, is mainly so that he could be implementing these policies on that local level, and then to stir that conversation as what we talked about before. And because I don't know what will happen, I don't know the exact policies. I just hope that by him doing so, then in the future there'll be a couple more candidates who are inspired, because it's the same thing that happened. He was inspired by Bernie to do it. Before that, he wasn't even that deep into politics like that. So we just need a few people who just say, all right, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna run with it and see what happens.
Yeah, I would say you don't even have to run for office either.
Mm.
Like, I'm more of a
good
behind
point.
the scenes kind of
Very
gal.
true. Very true.
And that's why I kind of chose, I'm getting my master's in public health. And one of the reasons I chose that is because I was like, okay, I want to help as many people as I can, but I also don't want to like run for office because I don't know, I can be a little sensitive, I guess. I don't know if
It's a whole different thing, running.
Yeah, like I
Help
don't
people
wanna do
in
it.
ways that you can.
I just don't want to do it. And I just also like I don't know that they really fix what needs to be fixed, right? They're all about in humankind, one of the things they say is once a person gets into a place of power, they've done studies where their brain actually looks like it has brain damage. And that's the effects of power. Yeah, like that's the effects of being in power. And like I don't want that to happen to me. I've had a taste of power before and like as a manager and like totally like yelled at an employee or something just because I could. And like I am not the type of person. I am like pretty chill. And like it just
Unless you're getting your sassy side.
What?
Unless we get on the sassy side.
Oh, yeah. I can be sassy, yeah. But yeah, and so it goes to your head. And so I was kind of thinking, like, what can I do? Because since I was a kid, I just wanted to help people. And I've never had like a concrete, people are like, oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a lawyer. And I was like, I don't know. I want to go to like Pluto. I don't know. Like, I don't know what I want to do. But I've always wanted to help people. And so that's like looked different for me over the years. But as I kept thinking about it, like, how can I help the most people? I was like, well, something like public health, for example, I can just help people in my community. I can help people in my workplace. Or, I can consult for like campaigns, local campaigns, stuff like that. They always need help with their policy. They need like stress relief for their staff. They need to work on their wellness. So there's always stuff that you can do that isn't just running for office. You can be a community organizer, like you can be the librarian who like, organizes people in your library and like hands out like voter information. You know what I mean? Like you just need to be involved in your community and that's how you make a difference. You don't have to do like this grand thing and like run for something, you just need to like smile at your neighbor and say hi. Like, you can just be a good person.
Yeah.
So
just two rules. Don't suck and don't be an asshole. If you can do that, we're all winning.
Yeah, just be a good person, and that can literally change the world around you. It might not change the entire country, but that's a really like big ask, I think, of just one person to do. I think it falls to all of us to just be good people.
We are all much greater than the sum of our parts.
Mm-hmm.
I agree so strongly in what you just said, Megan, that the small impacts that you make yourself can have larger impacts that you're not even aware of. Before the pandemic, I tried to have like a policy when I was seeing more people, right? I tried to have a policy of saying something kind to someone every single day. And, like it could be literally about whatever. And I remember once I was at a cafeteria and I saw this woman eating by herself. She was a heavier set woman. I would estimate about like 40 years old, maybe 38, somewhere around there. And she didn't look like she was having the best of the day. Nothing about her, honestly, other than the fact that she's sitting there and she's eating her meal, minding her own business or whatever. But that was just like the vibe I got. There wasn't like a frown on her face. There wasn't like anything about that. It was just, I could pick up that she was having a bad day or whatever. So just like me, I'd already finished my meal. I was like returning the tray. And I literally just like tapped her on the shoulder and I was like, excuse me, miss. I don't mean to come across as awkward or make you uncomfortable. But I think that whatever you're doing a good job at it. And I hope you have yourself a good day. And she was like taken aback and just said, oh my gosh, I'm having an absolutely terrible day. And what you just said to me means so much. Thank you. And like she got like all teary eyed and everything. And I'm like, I'm just a literal stranger just going like, hey, somebody sees you, notices you, and wants you to
acknowledges you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's all I did, right? And she was like, she basically had to fight back tears in front of me, like that happened. Like who knows how much better like her day not only carried on, or her week or whatever, but like let alone how she interacts with other people, right? There's a good chance that if something small happens or whatever, instead of like being bitter about it or whatever, she would just be more likely to like brush off whatever small thing happened against her. Like we really are social creatures, and when we build each other up is when we accomplish way, way, way more. This isn't like a grand statement. It's something we all know.
Yeah. And I'm sure your day was better too. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I felt good about it too, right?
Yeah, it's what is it that someone used to call it? Like altruistic hedonism or something like that, where like you're being nice to somebody, but it makes you feel good, or something like that. Like,
it makes sense. Yes,
that's a great evil sounding good thing.
Like even it's kind of like along the lines of like fake it till you make it. You know what I mean? Like if you start smiling, just fake smiling, it'll turn real. If you start fake laughing, you will start laughing for real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you tell somebody else something good about them, you'll feel good about yourself. And I'm not saying that that's the only reason you should do it, but it definitely helps. And it's like this ripple effect. You know what I mean? Like you say something nice to her, she says something nice to like maybe one or two people, and they go and be nice to one or two people who are nice. You know what I mean? And it's like you just started this little tiny happiness revolution within your little
revolution.
Like within just where you work, and that's like, or where you eat, and it's so cool. And like you had that tiny little impact that just grew and grew and grew, and then so did she. So I just being a good person, and just like, and I guess it all comes down to you guys just need to come to our stop by our our thing on Saturday, because this is what we'll be talking about, I'm sure. With you.
I love that.
Did Amy Jo Osment do a movie in the 90s about this, like Pay It Forward? It's called Pay It Forward. It had Helen Hunt.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Spacey.
Helen Hunt.
Yeah. Pay It Forward.
I remember something from the 90s.
Yeah.
Exactly that. No.
It's and it all comes down to like, I guess our intrinsic trust in each other is kind of broken. It's fractured, and I think if we just, because it's kind of this thing of like, well, I have to look out for myself because you don't have my best interests at heart. And I mean, sometimes that can be true, but I think it could also be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't trust you, so you're going to act in a way that's untrustworthy because you can feel my distrust.
Yeah.
And, so it's one of those things where like, but if I put my trust in you, like, what else could happen? Like maybe greater things could happen. And like if you burn me, okay, it's not the first time it's gonna happen, it's not the last time it's gonna happen. But I think I'd rather be like burned a few times. And this is something that's just like, it's taken me over the past year, because I've definitely been at the point this year where I'm like, you know what? Forget everybody. Everyone sucks. I don't like this. And I think now reading Humankind really has like turned me around a little bit. But I just think if we just kind of replace that trust a little bit, which is kind of what Andrew honestly talked a lot about, is just replacing our trust in other people and rebuilding that. And I don't think we can ever rebuild our society or make it a better place, like, until we do like replace that trust.
Yeah,
100%
for
agree
sure.
with that.
And this being the last episode is December 30th right now, right? So this is the last episode of the year. We have a whole new year coming. And I guess, I don't know, I'm thinking so next year has to be better than this year by the sheer fact that,
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, I know, right?
Pray to our deities.
knock on wood.
I think that the sheer fact that people will be able to get out of their houses again in June and not feel guilty about it, I think like that's going to have an immense burden lifted on the public conscious. So, 9 months of last year versus maybe 6 months of this year, like it's going to be a huge difference. Also, like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel is a huge part of it as well. So based on that fact alone, I'm saying like, all right, so 2021 should be better than 2020. But what are we gonna do to make it better beyond that? You know, like I just gave you something that none of us have any like real involvement in. It's just gonna happen. All right, but we ultimately are the drivers of our own lives, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have a victim mentality and don't believe that, you are able to a huge degree shape not only the world around you and how it responds to you, but also just how you view the world, right? Mm-hmm. Like you are in control of your own thoughts. So what are we going to do to make it better? Something to think about, I guess. Maybe we'll top it back, but I don't want to leave Meg hanging. So I'm sorry, I don't want to leave Sue hanging. So Sue asked Megan, how do people join you on Saturday? Like how do people get in on this Yang Gang Book Club?
Yeah, so on YouTube, it's literally just Yang Gang Book Club. And we will be doing the live stream at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Yang Gang Book Club channel. And if you follow us on Twitter, it's YG Book Club, and we should do a graphic that you can like download so that way you remember. So yeah.
Definitely follow them on Twitter. They post often.
We do. We try to, yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Dang.
That's very cool. Does anyone want to say any parting thoughts for the new year before we wrap up?
Oh.
I would just like to know about the giant teddy bear.
Yeah. I wondered if anybody would bring that up. Yeah.
Taken every ounce of my self-control.
Sure. So his name is Benjamin.
Okay.
Which is a Jewish name that means son of my grief.
Okay.
You know what? I am wrong. I am being corrected by Benjamin's owner, master. I don't know. It means son of my right hand. I'm mistaken. My apologies. Anyway, basically, so I have a twin brother, and when we were in high school, we were like shopping at Walmart, killing time, because that's something we at least did back then. I don't know if kids still do that. And we saw the big giant teddy bear and the bucket, like this big giant bin, and we were like, we have to have this just for teenage, stupidity.
Dang, so you guys had it for a long time then.
Yeah. So we bought it. I remember the price. It was $60. That was how much we paid for it then. And Aaron has kept it, and it's been his name is Benjamin. I don't really know much more to the story than that.
That is amazing.
I've been told, so he's lived in a fraternity house. He has, I've been told that he's lived a very exciting life. Benjamin has.
Been to a lot of parties.
Yeah, exactly.
That is amazing.
There's pictures of Benjamin like being hung over with like beer cans all around him, and like I'm not playing. Benjamin has stories, but unfortunately I don't know all of them because I'm at my brother's house. I don't know them. But great question, Megan.
I'm not disappointed.
Great.
I'm happy I asked.
That's hilarious.
Okay. All right. Well, everyone watching and everyone about to watch, and Megan, thank you for being here. Everyone, you have yourselves a great day, great rest of the week, and a happy, lucky, God-blessed, merry, you name it, New Year.
Love it up. And
everyone.